Hi everybody, I'm Julia. Welcome to Julia Lives. Today I'm going to share with you how much I get paid on a public school teacher's contract. I've been with the same district for 26 years. I'll also show you the first contract that I ever signed working for this district, and then I'll also share with you some of the responsibilities that I have. Now, I'm actually a school social worker. I'm fully licensed, and I've been fully licensed since 1998. So I've been in the profession for a long time. I'm also considered a certified autism coach. I've worked with kids with autism since 1993, so a long time. So I do feel like I bring a lot of value to my school. I've been here for 26 consecutive years. I haven't district hopped. I've stayed with the same thing, even when times were tough. I was put on a layoff one time, and I'll tell you about that too. I thought it was really kind of ridiculous. I had 13 years of seniority, and we had 1.5 school social workers, and we had an abundance of school counselors, but the person that was lowest on seniority in the counseling department was married to our superintendent. So guess who wasn't going to be put on a layoff? I did, however, narrowly escape that. I was never actually officially laid off, but it did come close one time. Now I have seniority in my entire department, so if they're going to, under the contract, have to lay somebody off, it's not going to be Julia, okay? We're going to have to go with somebody else who has less seniority. So let's get into my pay in that contract, and I'll show you what I get paid. And also too, if you have questions about what does that contract cover, what does it do as a union member? I am part of the union. I've had years where I wasn't due to that layoff because my union at the time was pretty weak, and they basically told me I need to defend for myself, and I didn't appreciate that. So I was out of the union. I exercised my right to work for about 10 years, and they literally did say, you're gonna have to figure this out. We don't protect social workers, only teachers. So I thought, well, then I guess I'm done paying union dues. Now we have a really strong union, and I really like our union a lot, so I rejoined because I do believe in unions, but when they're effective. Sometimes they're not, and you have to decide for yourself. I can only share my own experience. This is my opinion based on my own experience. I can't give anyone guidance for their district because you really have to determine how your own district functions and what's best for you. So here is the current contract for the 23-24 year. We actually just settled a new contract for 3 years, and it is going to change. We are going to see a pay increase, but I'll show you what I have for now since this is fairly recent. You'll see that step 1 on the bachelor's level is $46,891. That's going to be most first-year teachers. That's what they'll start at. It would be very unusual to see a first-year teacher who already has a master's degree, so they're going to begin there. I have to have a master's degree for my job, so for me, I would have started at $51,000. Now, I'm on step 25, so you'll see that that is a pay rate of $90,030 per year. I'll also show you my pay stub so you can see how much do I take home every 2 weeks. However, with my new contract, a school social worker's job is not only the master's degree, it's a 60 credit master's degree. So a normal master's degree for a teacher is about 30 credits. I have a lot more than that. Now, I'm also in what's called advanced standing, meaning I excelled in undergrad and I took certain courses that actually were not required twice. So I didn't have to retake those undergraduate courses again. And so because of that, they decided during the contract negotiation to allow any of us with advanced standing to move up to Masters plus 30, which means for me, I'm also getting a 5% increase when I get to step 26, which you don't see reflected here because that's also new. My understanding is it will put me at about $96,000 this year. So I'm going to make a huge jump. Trust me, I'm very grateful for this. I understand that's a significant amount of money. And I know people in investment banking that begin at $250,000 a year. I get that too, that they don't start where I started out, but I am still grateful to see how much my contract has grown over all these years. So that's the contract in a whole. You'll see too, there's not a PhD scale. So those who have a PhD don't get any additional money over somebody like myself who's master's plus 30. Now this is what I take home every 2 weeks based on the current contract And you'll see that there are a number of deductions here. If you're part of a union, you will have to pay in for that. So I pay $100 a month. I don't think it's on this particular pay stub. I think they didn't start taking out money until October this year. You'll also see too, I pay for insurance and I also pay towards my retirement. If you get a pension, that's not some free money system. I've paid $175,000 in over 26 years. I also bought 5 years, which means I paid about $15,000 in order to be able to retire 5 years early. So that isn't something that's offered anymore. They just brought back the pension system, but that also for a time was eliminated. Some states don't offer it at all. But again, that's all money that I've invested over time. And so it's not just some free money system. So you'll notice too, I pay for insurance, but I also have a $2,500 deductible, which is why I have an HSA deduction to put money onto a card. When I first started in public education, insurance was included. We paid zero, and the insurance was kick butt. It is so much different now with that $2,500 deductible. I will tell you too, when I first started, female teachers used to get their eyelids done. It was covered under our MESA insurance, meaning if your eyelids were droopy, you'd go in, they'd measure it, and then they'd take skin off. It was literally plastic surgery for nothing. I even had one time a few leg veins. They weren't even bad, but I thought, well, I might as well. I was able to go to a dermatologist and get those injected, and it was covered under insurance. It's not anymore. That's all considered cosmetic. My HSA also doesn't cover any of that. So HSA is just for medical expenses like appointments and things that aren't fully covered by the insurance. Here is my original contract. So I happened to find this when I was going through my office because I got a new office this year. And so you'll see here how little I was actually making at the time, $16,000. Now that was also because I was part-time. So if I would have been a full-time employee, I believe I would have made about $33,000 with a 60 credit master's degree. That was back, I got hired the 98-99 school year. That contract is actually for the 99-2000 school year because I got hired mid-year because somebody walked off the job. There were only 1.5 social workers at the time. It took a very long time to get more mental health support here, decades. And we actually at one time had Masters plus 60, but they eliminated it from the contract. It has taken 30 years to get that put into our contract. So if you work for a school district and you're in a union, I would be very aware of what they remove because it can take a really long time to have it put back into your contract once it gets taken out. The school district does not provide me with any type of a budget, so all the trainings that I have to have in order to maintain my license, I pay for those. Here's my license. I have both a clinical and a macro license. I believe it's $95 to have my license renewed every 3 years, but I do have to get 45 hours of continuing education units during that time. All these supplies, these therapy games, those are about $50 a piece, not chutes and ladders, of course, but the ones that look kind of unique, those are expensive. And the books too, I buy all that stuff. And so I just wanted to show you this little mustard thing. I made this from the dollar store. Kids think it's hilarious. And so with that though, I have a really great office. The kids like those wintergreen mints too, and so I always keep those on hand. I have a really nice office, so I'm not certainly complaining about it, but you should be aware that most teachers are buying their own supplies, school social workers definitely. It's just not part of the deal for me to turn in receipts. They will reimburse me for mileage if I go to a training. Now this is my office. It was brand new last year. It's beautiful. It's fancy. I've even got a dimmer switch that I'll show you in a minute. I like to keep it kind of clean. I know that's a little clinical, but I don't like a lot of junk around. I just think it's overwhelming. I also too have this big window. They're supposed to put a blind for safety reasons. If we ever have a lockdown, there's that dimmer switch. But if we ever have a lockdown, and they have not done it, so I put in a few just signs to cover it up. Now, here you'll see something that I would wear to work. I would probably wear my jean jacket over it, I'll show you, but this is a pretty typical teacher kind of dress. I paid $10 for that at Target. We do have somewhat of a dress code. Obviously, you don't want anything that's too short or too tight. And I would also say too, we're not allowed to wear hoodies or flip-flops. People do sometimes, but they years ago sent us an email saying not to. We also can't wear jeans unless it's Friday, or they tell us we can do it. If they allow us to wear jeans, then that's okay, but you can't just show up here in jeans. A jean jacket, yes, but jeans, no. But anyway, if you wear jeans, you have to wear a district t-shirt with it or district colors. Otherwise, jeans are not allowed. Now back to this dress. It is a little on the short side. It's not too bad, but I'll show you. You got to be careful bending over in this. I work with middle schoolers, so you don't really want to be bending if you can help it. It's right at the threshold of what I'd consider to be long enough. Now this is also fancy too. I've got this desk that you can elevate, which works great for Zoom. So when you have a Zoom meeting, you're not looking down in the camera. You could even work standing with this desk, but I have that picture hung, and I don't think I'd have to, the desk is movable. I'd have to pull it out a little bit if I ever wanted to use this as a standing desk, but I thought that was pretty fancy. I don't control the heat, and I'm doing another video about that. It's because the building had construction and there's no thermostat in here. I usually get to school right before 7 o'clock. I'm required to be there by 7:30, but at 7:30, I'm assigned cafeteria duty. So I go into a cafeteria as students are arriving, and I have a walkie-talkie with me in case there are any issues, because I'm the only adult in there for about 75 kids, except for the lunch lady. So I'm in charge of managing behavior and supervising all the kids all by myself. So I carry this walkie-talkie. I'm assigned to special education services. I have done gen ed before, but for right now, I'm special education only. I carry a caseload of 31 students, and for those students, I'm responsible for evaluations for students with autism and emotional impairment, sometimes other health impairment, and sometimes I do get involved with evaluations for students with cognitive impairments. From there, I'll write an IEP for the student. I'm then in charge of progress monitoring that student's IEP goals in a lot of different ways. So that may be through direct service, it might be through consultation with their teachers, but all the time I'm keeping notes and working on helping the student to make progress. I'm also part of a threat assessment team. I've completed all of the modules from the University of Virginia's comprehensive school threat assessment, and so I'm part of that team, which also involves writing a mental health assessment, and if there is some type of a safety plan, many times I'm involved with that too. Now, after a student has a safety plan, we will a lot of times incorporate a morning check-in, which is many times with me. So yes, I have to watch the cafeteria and then also run back and forth to my office to check people in. And what that means is I don a pair of rubber gloves, talk to the student, and go through their belongings to make sure that they're safe to be at school that day. That is not something I used to have to do. That's probably within the last 5 years that schools have necessitated doing things like that. And so another part of my job is to be part of a positive behavior support plan team, which I lead those. So I write a functional behavior assessment, then I write the plan, and then I'm oftentimes the person who's assigned to overseeing the whole thing. If a student does have behavior that's creating a difficulty for that student to learn. But I'll tell you what, I still, with all that paperwork, I still love my job. I had a student say to me last year, "You're like a detective. You seem to know everything that's going on here," which is true because I know so many kids and all their families because I've been there for so long. And then the kid said to me, "But you're a really cool person." And so I plan on working at least another 5 years because I feel like if the kids find me easy to talk to, and I'm still helping kids, I'm still happy at my job, then I have a few more years left in me. But I do plan on retiring when things are still good. I do not want to be the old curmudgeon in the building that people are trying to get rid of. So if you have questions about my job or about my experience with public education, just drop a comment. Or even if you want to share your own experience, drop a comment and I'm happy to respond to you. So thank you for watching this, and I hope it was helpful.